Hi guys, this is Mike L from the Comic Book Syndicate. We just reviewed The Authority with the Detroit Comics Nerdy Book Club. We had a difference of opinion here. Okay, I am of the opinion that this comic kick-started the modern age of comic books. This is a comic book by Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch, and I think it changed the way comics were done. Miles, what is your opinion?
I totally agree. I think it's kind of like turn of the century, kind of like changed the way that people looked at comics. They were more cinematic. After Marvel saw this, they totally wanted to do this. They wanted to copy this. Marvel was coming out of like a bankruptcy, and they saw this, and they got Grant Morrison and Mark Millar and all these guys to work on their comics. And I feel like it totally jump-started the entire industry. Like everything from the top to bottom, indie books, big books, books in the middle that were, kind of like struggling. I feel like everybody has felt the impact of this. I think Image has felt the impact of this, DC, Marvel, and I feel like it, even without the Authority, I feel like we probably don't have the exact same like makeup of the movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we have right now. I feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe owes a lot to the Authority.
I agree, Miles. Now, Michelle, you had a different opinion. Let's ask Michelle what she thought of The Authority.
I look like a jerk. But, well, I get, like, what Miles is saying, like, what it did, like, as far as, like, opening up the universe and stuff. But I felt like as a story, it just felt like it was trying to be more than it was, I guess. I just didn't buy, like, it was kind of like going for like an anti-Justice League vibe. Like what if the Justice League was real, basically? I guess is more and more saying. Sure. What if it was like actual real people and not like projections or caricatures and stuff like what would people with superpowers really do if they all worked together and they could do the fantastical things that these guys can do? But it just felt like kind of a little empty to me. I wish it... And I know it sounds kind of like bad, but I guess I wish it was edgier than it was. I felt like it could have been more real. Like it still felt super overblown, and not to say it was like the worst thing ever. It's definitely not bad. I just want to like get that out. It's not bad, but I feel like it hasn't aged well, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I also wasn't into the art. It just looks a little clean and I know. Okay. No, I just look like the worst person.
Can I just say, okay, I don't think the plot was particularly spectacular. Right. It's more just the style that the story was told has laid the groundwork for how all comics are done now. Like, I really think, if you want to go back, say, to the 80s, it was like Miracle Man and Watchmen and Dark Knight and blah, blah, blah. And then this was like the next big step for me. And so I don't think the plot was particularly original, but I think the style of the comic was what made it. Do you agree with that, Miles? The execution?
No, I totally agree. I think we were seeing something new. And Warren Ellis, he basically was like, let's take the superhero genre, let's turn all these superheroes on their head, like they're almost parodies of Superman, Batman, Doctor Who. Let's take all these superheroes, flip them around, and we're going to make this like science fiction on speed. We're just going to throw this story at their face, and we're going to they're just to get people into it. Like, it's going to be less wordy. We're going to have these like different types of characters that people haven't seen before, and we're going to give art that moves. Like, it's like you read that story really fast and you're just like, oh man, I got to read that again. It's almost like watching like a big budget film.
Now, I want to say, Michelle, you said that the story doesn't age well. Now, I'm just going to point out that coming in, this was around 98, 99.
2000, yeah.
Comics were still loaded with thought balloons and a lot of description.
Editor notes.
Editor notes. This is where they went, let's throw all that out the window, and it's all going to be action and dialogue.
So let's Michael Bay it up.
Well, I'm not going to say Michael Bay it up. I'm going to say they did super fast-paced action to the point that it's almost too fast, where you feel like you're missing things. But for that reason, I do feel like it holds up, because, like Miles, I agree. I think that all the comics we see on the stands here are influenced by this. You don't see that at all?
No, I feel like they are, but I also feel like sometimes, I can understand something being the originator of a trope, but something after it being better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It felt like kind of like a dumbed down Watchmen, because like Watchmen already flipped the superhero trope on its head, because we had the golden age, and then like Watchmen was kind of the start of the dark age of comics, where it was like the self-aware superhero deconstruction, all that going on, British invasion coming in, kind of prosing up, as you could say, like the superhero, and this felt like a step backwards to me. Like it was almost like a neo Watchmen, like a Watchmen made for a modern age, like Watchmen, but pizzazzed up and made for like early 2000s. Everything's got to be bigger, better, faster. It's not, like I said, it's not bad, but I just felt like it's kind of already been done before, and this was just another a way of rebooting the deconstruction of superhero genre. And I actually like Warren Ellis a lot as a writer. Great writer, awesome, all of his stuff's great. I just felt like this wasn't one of his better works. I understand why people like it, what it did for the industry, but I still feel like stuff's better since it's come out.
Okay, so knowing that, Miles, do you recommend this comic?
I definitely recommend this comic. I think I don't disagree with you that it is like it that is what he was doing. He was updating this superhero, but I feel like as far as like the type of story he was doing, I don't think it was Watchmen-esque at all. And I think I definitely recommend the story for anybody trying to get into comics. And yeah, maybe it is a little bit dated. Like, again, I don't disagree with you. You said Michael Bay-esque, and I agree, but I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. Like, I am not a fan of Michael Bay as a filmmaker, but as far as making something dynamic and cinematography and the choreography of a comic, like putting something together, I feel like Michael Bay would be right with you. And I think it was really necessary, though. I feel like this is a book that had to happen at some point to move the industry forward, And maybe it definitely has its flaws, like you're missing key plot components. But no, I think this book is still relevant. I feel like this is the beginning of the modern current way of telling comic book like stories. Yeah.
So Michelle, if you're not, I'm assuming you're not recommending this comic, or
I would not. I would recommend it. I just with a what's the word, a caveat, I would recommend it, but I still don't think it's the best thing ever. But it's not a bad read. It's fun, and it's definitely good. I always feel like it's good to go to the past and see where things have progressed to now, and it's always good to see where tropes come from and when ideologies and there were shifts in like comics. So I think that's fun to read. So.
Is there another comic that you have in mind that maybe covers the same kind of ground that maybe you'd recommend instead of this?
Well, actually, Martial Law was actually written before this one, and I felt like it covered a little bit better the deconstructed idea of what superheroes would really seriously do if they were unobstructed with their power, and the ways that they actually I like the interplay between them and how superheroes are fighting other superheroes, and it's just a lot darker. I felt like this comic needed to be darker. I know everybody hates don't get too edgy or whatever, let's not Zack Snyder it up or whatever, but I just honestly I felt like it could have been a little edgier than it was. I felt like it was towing the line a little to stay a little bit more palatable for everybody to read.
I definitely agree, but I feel like Warren Ellis he expanded on a lot of this stuff like further on, as far as like when he moved to Avatar, he did a book called No Hero, which is like it covers a lot of these themes, and it does get really violent and it is more mature. It's very similar. He follows these same themes, and you could tell that maybe he was a little held back when he was doing Wildstorm and the Authority, but like the Authority had to be pop. It had to be like accessible, but he does take these themes and follow them. So I feel like the content is still in the Authority, even if it is a little dumbed down, watered down, but it's like I feel like it's still like at its core it's still very important and very, very relevant.
So yeah, whether you like it or not, The Authority, a very important comic. If you're a fan of superheroes or comic books, check this out. The Authority, Volume 1, Relentless. And by the way, if you read this comic, please give us your review. Like, comment, subscribe, tweet, share, email, call us, do everything you can. Tell your friends. This is a great show. We have no friends. Oh my God.